Hello everybody! For today's video I am back in Pokemon Emerald for a playthrough with a Pokemon that has been requested a while ago. As promised, I am here to deliver. This time the protagonist is a Flygon. Its design is pretty cool, I have to admit that, but unfortunately he is one of the worst dragons in Generation 3. His stats are pretty good, but not great compared to beasts like Salamence or Rayquaza. Like most of the other dragon types in the game, it has a 4-time weakness to ice, so it does not even have that over its siblings. Quick reminder of the rules: I can only use the starter in combat, I can't use items in combat, I can't raise my evasion, and I can't use cheats or glitches. The one somewhat good thing about Flygon is that the starting moveset is decent, and also the move pool overall. For the moment, I think I will mostly use Bite. I know it's special in this game, and that's not exactly the best of our stats, but Sand Tomb is an extremely bad move, so I don't want to click that button unless strictly necessary. The first couple of fights go by pretty smoothly. On the other hand, the grunt in the forest proved to be a bit of a problem. It used a few sand attacks, so I kept missing it, but I have a feint attack, which ignores accuracy, so I can finish it with that. Next up, we can face the first gym leader. Both of my moves are decent here. Sand Tomb is super effective, but Bite hits on the special side. Ultimately, I went for Bite for more reliable damage. The fight against her was not very hard. My defense is moderately high, but most importantly, I resist her stab rock moves, so that's a major fact in our win. Like usual, after claiming the first badge, I had to do the thing with the kidnapped Pico until eventually I was able to challenge May before leaving town. The fight against her is not very interesting. At this point, her Pokémons are still very weak, and their BST can't keep up with my raw power. After dealing with her, I skipped Brawly since my moves are mostly dark type, and he resists them. Instead, I took care of the two Aqua Grunts harassing the captain. You might have noticed that my moveset improved a little bit, but unfortunately everything is still ineffective for fighting types, so Brawly will have to wait a while longer. As you might imagine, they were barely an inconvenience, but next is the May 2 fight, which I don't expect to be a problem, but I have been wrong before. Her starter has finally evolved to the middle stage, so that's a lot more stats for her. While I am having some trouble choosing a move, she is kinda locked into Water Gun, since her ground moves can touch me thanks to Levitate. Once May has been defeated too, we can move on to the next gym leader, who is the electric type Watson. He was not a hard fight, since my type is a hard counter to his, but it was not as easy as I expected. His Pokémons can still do a bit of damage. Sand Tomb was specifically used for Magneton, since it is 4 times weak to it. wave it goodbye because I will never use it again. In this run at least. In the meantime, I also learned Dragon Breath. It took me a while to realize the typing error in the layout, so you'll have to endure it for some time. With our new not steal move, I am ready to tie up the loose end called Brawly. His gym is a bunch of levels lower than us, so defeating him was not an issue. Dragon is also special in this game, so any defense boosts are meaningless. After some more time, I made my way to the first confrontation against Maxi. His team is not that bad, but between Special Dragon Breath and the new Stab Dig, I have more than enough firepower to extinguish his flame. I have not mentioned it yet, but Flygon is speeding through the game. Usually by this time I am barely at Watson. The next gym in our path is Flannery. This one too was very easy. I can deal a lot of damage with Dig to her Pokémons, since it is super effective and stab, and even if Overheat is a strong move, it will not do that much to us, thanks to another resistance granted by the Dragon typing. My forgetfulness paid out for once. I still had a cherry berry from Watson, so I was able to heal paralysis once I got hit by Body Slam. Torkoal took a bit of time to defeat because of all the potions, but after a while she ran out and it went down too. Not much to do now, but get back to our dad for the next gym fight. Usually Norman is a tough fight, but I have the feeling that today it will not be the case. His team is still kinda strong, but the main star is lacking, who is very easy to cheese with Dig. So as long as we make it to him in one piece, we should be fine. I took a couple of scratches from his Pokémons, but it was not much. Then, when slacking comes out, I just have to dig every turn. Since I am faster, I will be underground when he attacks, and I can safely come back up while he is loafing. The only hard part is keeping track of when you are supposed to dig if Norman starts to use potions. And also, if you don't have much attack, it's likely you'll run out of PPs before King Kong takes a permanent nap. After taking the badge, we have a lot of stuff to do, but eventually I was able to reach the Weather Institute, where we have to free the scientists from more Team Aqua grants. There is also an admin, but she is not very strong. The fight against her was not a problem. That's what I would say if Swagger did not exist. I hit myself a few times, but not enough to unalive myself. Next is May, and she is easy. For real this time. I am not sure if her Pelipper has a supersonic, but it does not matter since it is not in this team. The rest of her Pokémons are not exactly great, so in a few more hits I can send them back to the Pokéballs and move on. Not long after the rival, we have to defeat the Flying Gym. This one should also be somewhat easy. I only have to worry about one thing. Skarmory resists my moves and it knows Sand Attack. I don't want to jinx it, but this could get ugly. Unexpectedly, Altaria leaves a hit and paralyzes me with Dragon Breath. That's pretty bad. I am not holding a cherry berry, so I have to get through the rest of the fight with the status effect. I thought there was a good chance I would lose, but kept moving forward since there is still the possibility of a miracle. After defeating most of her team, I only had Skarmory left. It was very close, but I was just barely able to land one last Dragon Breath. With another gym defeated, we can progress with the story. Before doing that, I had to take a minute for the last reunion with our rival May. The fight against her is still underwhelming. All of her Pokémons get defeated by at most 2 Dragon Breaths, so this is effectively free experience. The one thing that kinda bothers me is that Flygon can't learn Earthquake through level up, so I will have to wait a while before I can pick it up and teach it to him. Next, we have to get back to the volcano and find Maxi deep inside, about to wake up Groudon. That's not ideal for the survival of the human species, but unfortunately we arrived just a tad bit too late. The best we can do is knock some sense into him by defeating his Pokémons. This time his team improved a lot, but since my moveset also improved, they are still no match for our not Bug Dragon Pokémon. After we defeat all of his Pokémons, Maxi runs away, and we have to at least stop the other evil team. But again, we arrived a bit too late and can only fight their admin as Archie lives in a sub. With only 2 Pokémons, this guy is little more than cannon fodder, but that's still enough to fulfill its purpose. Once we are done with all of that, we have to take on the next gym to earn the ability to dive underwater. Tate and Liza don't scare me too much, but it's always better to be careful with them since it's a 2v1 fight. You never know what can happen. Especially if one of their Pokémons sets up too much or Lunaton lands an Hypnosis. Unfortunately, I cannot use Dig on any of their Pokémons because, like me, they all have the ability Levitate, but at least I have Crunch to deal some decent damage. Shadow Ball would have been better since it is physical, but Flygon cannot learn it, so I'll have to make do with what I have. Ultimately, it was not that bad of a fight, and I came out with most of my HP. After grabbing their badge, we have to go take care of another problem on the island. Maxi is still not happy and he is creating chaos. Fortunately, me and Steven are there to stop him from making any other mistakes, even though it takes a long and somewhat grueling fight to finally make him see the light. Flygon is on time to get a sub 3 hours finish if everything goes well, but I am a bit worried about a couple of fights near the end of the game, namely Glacia because of Ice type, and mostly Wallace because some of his Pokémons carry Ice Beam that could be a one-shot, and in general they are quite tanky, so I am not sure if it will be that easy to break through them. Also, what the fudge? Solar Beam Aggron? No wonder they kicked you out of the league, Steven. Once we have obtained the sub-HM, we can reach Archie, and just before him we can find the Earthquake TM, so we finally have our good stab move. His team is nothing new to us, so once again I just spammed Dragon Breath to ignore the Intimidate from my Tiena. At this point, Earthquake might have been the better option anyway. The base power is much higher, not to mention our attack being higher than a special attack, but in the end it did not matter much and all of his Pokémons ended up being defeated. While I go fetch Rayquaza from the Crumbling Tower, why don't you subscribe if you are not already, like the video and press the bell, and maybe if you are in the mood leave a comment with a run suggestion. It might not be today, tomorrow or a Toyota, but I will fulfill it eventually. Anyway, let's get back to the video game. The last of the Mohicans is Juan, aka Earthquake Spam. He does not have any immunities or even resistances, so there is no reason to not click that button over and over again against him. After speed blitzing his team, we can make our way to the victory road. Here we have one last serious fight before starting the league against our secondary rival Wally. It's nice to see him again, but his team does not stand much of a chance against me. I am super effective against half of his team, and it's not like the other half takes my hits very well. I suppose an infatuation or a toxic could ruin my day, but it does not happen, so I can sort of sweep through his team. Just before the league, I flew around and collected a few rare candies, but I decided to not use them yet. The first member of the gauntlet is Sidney. I lost once to him because of an unfortunate series of confusions. He could also be annoying thanks to Intimidate, but between Special Dragon Claw and Earthquake being a very strong move, I was not too worried about losing again. Shiftry unfortunately lands another Swagger, but this time the confusion only lasts a couple of turns, leaving me with a +1 in a physical attack. Needless to say, that is more than enough to sweep through the rest of his team with a few attacks. The second obstacle is Pheobe. Here we have the usual course lead, who can be a pain, but I was confident that either a Crunch or an Earthquake could take it out. The second one leaves a hit and retaliates with an Ice Beam that does a lot of damage, but not enough to take me out. I kept using Crunch for the rest of his team, and things worked out in my favor. Only switched for Sableye since it's neutral to an Earthquake. And Earthquake destroyed it. Next up is Glacia, which is definitely scary. I would have liked if Flygon could learn Brick Break, but unfortunately that's not the case, so I just have to hope that shaking the ground will be enough to get me through the fight with her. Walrein leaves a hit and fires back an Ice Beam. Yeah, I saw my life flashing before my eyes, but somehow Flygon hangs on with just a few HP and can defeat the Walrus. The last of the Elite Four is Drake. I'm a bit worried about him, but not that much. Sure, he has dragon moves that are going to hurt, but I can do the same thing. Also, having lived that ice beam, I am confident that even a crit might not be enough to bring me down in a single hit. Most of the fight goes pretty well. Altaria is surprisingly tanky on the special side, so it does not die in one hit. Salamence hits me with Dragon Claw too. It's a lot of damage and the crit would have defeated me, but he does not get it. At last we have reached Wallace. I have tried him. At last we have reached Wallace. I have tried taking him on at this level a few times, but unfortunately it was not quite enough to defeat his many strong Pokémons, so I had to use the rare candies to level up, and since I am going kinda fast, I fed them all in bulk. With the extra 12 or so levels under its belt, Flygon had a much easier time with his water team. Many of them are now a clean 2-shot, so I can skip a lot of the full restores too. At the end, Wallace gave up too and spammed useless boosting moves, giving me the opportunity to close the champion battle without taking any hits. Not going to lie, my opinion of Flygon improved a lot after this run, and I can now see why so many people want a Mega Evolution. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you have a meme run in mind, leave it in the comment, and I will do it in due time. See you next week. Bye!